Coming up today, in the latest in a string of aggressive rhetoric out of North Korea, Kim Jong-un claims his country has miniaturized a nuclear warhead that can fit atop a long-range missile. South Korea's leading business groups are expected to boost their investments by more than 5% in 2016. R&D spending is forecast to remain static. First, an extraordinary contest between a human and a machine is about to start in Seoul. Se-dol, the best Go player in the world, will take on an AI system called AlphaGo. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Wednesday, the 9th of March. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We begin with another claim of military prowess out of North Korea. This time it has released a picture of a miniaturized nuclear warhead, which the regime says it has successfully fitted to the tip of a ballistic missile. Now, there's no way to confirm the claim, but South Korea and the US have already expressed skepticism about whether Pyongyang has the technological capability to do something so complicated. Connie Kim has our top story.
Has North Korea succeeded in miniaturizing a nuclear warhead to fit on a ballistic missile? North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency on Wednesday quoted leader Kim Jong-un as saying it has. Pyongyang has made the same claim in the past, but this is the first time its leader has been quoted directly. This is also the first time the North has released a picture of the warhead, with an image of the purported device appearing in the North's daily Nodongshinmun the same day. Shaped like a round silver sphere, it's estimated to be about a meter in diameter. And there is a possibility that the warhead is real, since radioactive material is not released until a nuclear explosion. Officials from South Korea and the US say the regime has made significant progress toward miniaturization, but they're skeptical about whether it's gone all the way. The latest comments from the US come from Air Force Chief Mark Welsh on Monday, who said Pyongyang's actions are very worrisome, but the regime does not have the capability to put a nuclear warhead on top of a missile. However, if the regime has succeeded, Seoul and Washington would need to revise their operation plan, which is designed to detect, disrupt, destroy, and defend the peninsula against long-range ballistic missiles from the north. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, it seems the harsher international sanctions on North Korea are really starting to bite now. Even the regime's longtime ally China is turning its back, barring a North Korean freighter from one of its ports. Gwon-swa reports.
In one of the first signs that the UN Security Council sanctions on Pyongyang are being implemented, China has denied a North Korean ship entry to one of its ports, according to media reports Wednesday. A Chinese shipping official says the cargo ship Grand Caro arrived at Rizhao Port in Shandong, northeastern China, over the weekend, but the port did not allow the ship to berth, as it is one of the 31 vessels blacklisted under the new UN resolution. The ship was flying the flag of Cambodia, a practice Pyongyang often employs to disguise itself. According to the Japanese Sankei Shimbun, also on Wednesday, Chinese trade officials have been ordered to reject North Korean ships beginning on Thursday and to inspect all North Korean imports. The newspaper added that the Chinese government is also expected to deny passage to ships returning to the north and may even stop maritime trade with North Korea once and for all. The latest moves appear to be a sign of North Korea's closest ally turning its back on the regime. But some experts say it's too early to verify such claims.
In the past, China was also cooperative with the adoption of UN Security Council resolutions, but later on displayed a lukewarm attitude toward implementation. It's true that Beijing has participated more actively this time around, as shown in its restrictions on North Korean ships entering Chinese ports. But we need to know the background behind those moves and examine whether it's really a reflection of the government's will.
Meanwhile, sanctions on the North Korean regime in the financial sector are also being enforced. The UK imposed new financial sanctions in support of the UN sanctions earlier this week. Its finance ministry added 15 individuals and 5 entities to its blacklist, making it 48 and 41 in all, along with the UN Security Council and separate EU sanctions. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, US President Barack Obama is expected to soon put pen to paper on a new set of sanctions against North Korea. Sources say the new measures include secondary boycotts of third-party companies and individuals with close ties to Pyongyang. Park Jung-hong reports.
Washington is said to be putting the finishing touches on round 2 of its sanctions against North Korea. Many expect the full plan to be revealed no later than early next week. While there won't be anything groundbreaking, sources do say there will be a comprehensive secondary boycott of individuals and entities that allow for more autonomy in cracking down on North Korea's finances. Sources say the cash-strapped North has a history of circumventing existing sanctions through a proxy in a third country or a foreign bank. Against this backdrop, U.S. diplomacy website Foreign Policy quoted a report by an expert panel affiliated with the UN Security Council. The unpublished report claims North Korea conducted deals through a Singapore-based shipping firm, Chinpo Shipping, using the company's account at a Bank of China branch. By doing so, the North was able to conceal payments to operate ships carrying arms and other goods. Between April 2009 and July 2013, Chinpo reportedly made some 605 payments valued at more than $40 million on behalf of North Korean entities. The report goes on to stress that China is walking a tightrope as a global power responsible for curtailing North Korea's nuclear program and as a diplomatic big brother obliged to take care of its smaller neighbor. It noted that China's past aversion to tough sanctions against the North was undermining chances for a proper implementation of the UN Security Council's resolution. Park Jung-hong, Arirang News.
Now, the United States has once again made clear that there will be no dialogue with North Korea until the rogue state takes steps towards denuclearization. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap news agency, the United States' top nuclear envoy, Sung Kim, said Washington's North Korea policy remains the same, and there is no secret dealing with China that South Korea is not aware of. Now, his comments come amid speculation Beijing had proposed a two-track approach of pursuing North Korea's denuclearization and peace talks simultaneously. In response to the looming possibility of five-party talks excluding North Korea, Kim said the US is open to the idea, but he doesn't believe that China has agreed to it. Now, the wait is almost over. In less than 1 hour from now, man will face off against machine in an epic game of Baduk, or, as it's known around the world, Go. The competitors are Grandmaster Se-dol of Korea, and he's taking on the artificial intelligence supercomputer called AlphaGo. Now, the first game of the 5-game tournament will start at 1 p.m. South Korea time here in Seoul. For an update, we are going to connect live to Lee Ji-won, who's at the Four Seasons Hotel where the game will be held. So, Ji-won, lots of people in Korea and around the world have been eagerly anticipating this match for months now. The atmosphere there must be fantastic.
Hi Mark, everyone here is very excited for the match of the century, and you can feel the tension in the air as the competitors get ready to face off. Journalists from Asia and around the world, about 350 members of the press, are here to see if artificial intelligence can really beat human intelligence. No one will be allowed into the playing area during the game, but it will be broadcast on TV throughout Asia on Korea's Baduk TV, and it will be live streamed on YouTube.
And the YouTube channel is DeepMind, all one word, for those wanting to watch a bit of history being made for themselves. But Ji-won, not many people, myself included, are that familiar with Go. Can you give us a brief rundown of how the game works?
Well, Mark, first let me tell you briefly about the game of Baduk, or Go as it's known in the rest of the world. The goal is to surround the opponent's stones or house, as they call it, and gain as much territory as possible. The surrounded stones are then taken off the board. Now, during today's match, each player will have 2 hours to make their moves. If a player uses up that time, he will then get an extra minute for each move. If the player goes over the 1 minute limit 3 times, he loses automatically. So the game should finish sometime between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. at the latest. Also, because AlphaGo can't physically move the game pieces, one of the developers, who is also a professional Go player, will act in its place to place the stones and input data. After every match, the players and developers will give a press conference to talk about how the game went from their perspective. That's all I have for now, but I'll be back with more update on the winner in our next newscast.
Well, thank you very much to Lee Ji-won for that report, and let's hope Se-dol can win that matchup. Now, in other news, Korea's central bank will, on Thursday, set the key interest rate for this month. Market expectations are leaning towards a rate freeze, but the fragile economy means a rate cut is not off the table. Hwang Ji-ae reports.
Ahead of its monthly monetary policy meeting on Thursday, Korea's central bank has been under mounting pressure to pep up the economy, which has been suffering from unfavorable conditions at home and abroad. As of last month, exports had plunged for over a year, while key indicators of domestic demand in January, like retail sales and facilities investment, also dropped.
We see a rate cut being possible in March. Combined exports from January and February were down 15%, and in general, sentiment is at a record low, excluding the period during the global financial crisis.
Negative interest rates introduced in Japan and the European Union have fueled expectations that Korea will also lower its key rate, which already stands at a historic low of 1.5%. And with one dissenting vote calling for a rate cut in last month's policy meeting, the likelihood of the BOK inching toward more monetary easing has increased. But some economists say a rate cut should not be seen as a cure-all.
The central bank has to be sure about the specific effects a rate trim would bring to the economy, but conditions now are very uncertain, making it hard to determine the impact.
Adding to this is the country's massive household debt burden and risks stemming from massive capital outflows. Positive jobs data from February out of the U.S. has made it more likely that the Federal Reserve will remain on track for rate hikes down the line, making it tricky for the BOK to focus solely on boosting recovery momentum. The replacement of 4 of the central bank's monetary policy board members scheduled for next month is another issue that market watchers are eyeing. They say it's unlikely members will move for a rate cut this month since it'll leave fewer options for their successors, but there are still expectations for an additional cut within the first half of this year. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
Now, staying with economic news, and Korea's top conglomerates have decided to expand their investment this year by more than 5%. The investment boost comes despite their general pessimism about the business conditions for the remainder of 2016. Park Ji-won reports.
The Federation of Korean Industries has released its report on the annual and midterm investment plans of Korea's 30 biggest business groups. According to the breakdown released on Wednesday, the conglomerate's total investment in 2016 will exceed $101 billion, up 5.2% from the previous year. The on-year increase comes mostly from investment in facilities, which are set to rise more than 7% compared to last year. Investment in R&D remains at a similar level of some $26 billion. Out of the 30 groups, 18 will boost investment, 3 will remain static, and the remaining 9 will downsize their investments. Looking at it group by group, Korea's biggest conglomerate, Samsung Group, plans to invest $12.8 billion in a semiconductor complex in Pyeongtaek, south of Seoul. Hyundai Motor Group plans to invest over $10 billion in smart and eco-friendly vehicles. SK Group is going to invest $4.5 billion in new memory chip plant and invest another $1 billion in network infrastructure. LG Group plans to invest some $8 billion in LCD production by 2018 and another $3 billion in a state-of-the-art R&D complex in 2020. 80% of the 30 groups have a negative outlook for this year, saying general economic conditions will be worse than last year. However, most of them expect the economy to improve from late 2017. 박지원, Arirang News.
Now, mergers and acquisitions in Korea reached an all-time high in deals value in 2015, ranking third out of all Asian nations. According to the Korea Capital Market Institute, over 360 M&A deals in the nation amounted to a record $87.5 billion last year. With the latest figure, Korea ranks third after China and Hong Kong. Since 2012, Korea's M&A deals value has shown an average increase rate of 43.7%. The uptrend is forecast to continue with the one-shot law passed last month designed to help companies eliminate excess capacity and improve productivity. Last year, big business groups SK and Samsung merged their affiliates, making up over 40% of the total value. Raw materials prices are back on the rise, raising expectations of an economic recovery. According to Bloomberg, the CRB commodity index stood at 171.7 on Monday. That's an increase of nearly 11% from just over 155 last month, which was the lowest since March 2002. The index is based on prices for more raw materials, including crude oil and copper. On the New York Mercantile Exchange on Monday, West Texas Intermediate for April delivery settled at just under $38 a barrel. That's up nearly 45% from its low point last month. Copper prices rose to a 4-month high on the London Metal Exchange on the same day, up 15% from the 7-year low recorded in January. Financial experts say the upward trend could be temporary, especially if the US Federal Reserve decides to raise interest rates again. And with that, that is all we have on this Wednesday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. So until then, goodbye.